horrified with the meat industry because it is the largest, most accepted form of violence on earth today.
It is the largest, most accepted
Form of violence.
form of violence in the world today.
Right.
Is that true? It's yes or no. That's a tough one for the ego. Just yes or no for the first two questions. It takes a lot of stillness to test it. It is the largest, most accepted form of violence in the world today. Is it true?
No. Because I don't know if that's true.
So it's still a yes for you.
So if I would do the work on my own at home, I would say yes.
Good.
And then I'd have my proof.
Okay. So I'm getting you're still a yes.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So now, can you absolutely know that it's true? That the meat industry is the most accepted form of violence in the world today, the largest?
No.
So that's that place for the open mind
Right.
after you test it.
Do you want to know the situation I wrote the sheet
Yes.
out of? It was, I got an email that showed a video of undercover footage in a slaughterhouse in Belgium. And so I'm sitting behind my computer, and these kind of situations happen a lot. So I'm there, and I'm just sort of, horrified, and I get really angry.
Yeah. Yes.
And it feels like proof.
Yes, it does. Because you're seeing images. How do you react? What images of past, future happen
I see,
when you believe this thought?
right, numbers go through my mind. So for example, I live in a very small country, Holland, and there was a research that actually showed that in my country alone, we kill 1.7 million animals per day.
Wow.
Right. So what happens when I see that video?
Yes, how do you react? What
Right.
happens when you think the thought? It's the largest, most accepted form of violence in
Right.
the world today.
I see all the animal, and it was a horrible video. I see all the animals that I don't see,
Yes.
right?
In your mind's eye, you see them from the past alive, and then you
Right.
see them in the factory.
Right, just
the future.
zillions of them, yeah.
So you see past, future, past, future, past, future, past, future
Right.
animals. And then, as you witness that, you are furious.
Yes.
Now,
Very
who
much.
would you be? Who would you be showering that night or having dinner or whatever? Who would you be? Find a situation like right here, right now.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So who would you be without the thought, the meat industry is the largest, most accepted form of violence in the world?
I'd be fine.
Okay? So now tell me, with the thought, you see the images, past, future, slaughter, and then you feel furious. Without the thought, you're not furious.
Yes.
So what is the cause of your fury, your anger? The meat industry or what you're witnessing in your mind's eye?
Definitely what I'm witnessing in my mind.
So that's not the meat industry. That is you believing past, future images in the moment. So you see the images of the cattle in the slaughterhouse. You see that? Is that real? Or is that imagination? You can't have it both ways. You can't. Not here, now, reality. Reality. This is first generation reality. And it is perfect, and all your needs are met. Everything you need to be happy is right here, now, and all you have to do is notice. But it's here now, whether you notice or not. Other than what you're thinking and believing, this is a beautiful world. And that never changes, no matter what. It never changes. No matter what, it's a friendly universe. You don't have to like it or believe it. It just waits for you to wake up to it. So you see the movie, and then you feel the feelings.
Yes.
So the meat industry is the largest, most accepted form of violence in the world today. How would you turn that around? Fantasy is?
So you're suggesting to replace the meat industry with fantasy?
Yes, or my thinking?
Right. Oh, definitely. My thinking is the largest, most accepted form.
Of violence in your world today, not our world, your world today, and it just wipes people out. It can wipe out your happy life. That's why there are things in the world you can do little about. And it doesn't stop you from trying to change it.
Right.
But at least you know the cause of your suffering, and you know that they're not causing it.
Right. And
But there are two ways of changing things. One is out of a violence, a fear, and the other is just sane.
yeah.
It's just
Right.
sane. You just don't expect people to hear you or to get it at the level you do.
Right. And it's definitely true that out of that angry
Movie.
I mean, I get really violent, basically.
Yes.
Like, and it has been my experience that actually is not a productive state of mind to do anything about, the meat industry itself.
It's like
I
you
mean,
take you to slaughter
right,
every time you get lost in the dream.
right,
And
right.
there are more productive things we can do than believing our thoughts. Like we can do something about it rather than just frighten ourselves once we're awake to what it is. And then this worksheet, as it's turned around, will show you how to deal with things like this. So let's look at statement 2.
I want the meat industry to stop being supported by the millions of people carelessly buying bodies of beings that led miserable lives.
So I want the meat industry to stop.
To stop being supported by the millions of people.
So you want the meat industry to stop being supported by millions of people. Now, the meat industry doesn't have a choice in the matter. We buy it or we don't, so you get what you want.
Right.
Did you all follow that one? The meat industry cannot make us buy meat.
Right.
And what you've written is, I want the meat industry to stop being supported by millions of people. They have no control over that.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing I love about this worksheet. We begin to think clearly about what we want and what's possible. So I want the meat industry to stop being supported by millions of people. Turn it around to yourself. I want the meat industry to stop being supported by...
Me?
Yeah, you're it. That's it. That's it. Now give me an example. Give me some examples of how you can stop supporting the meat industry.
By stop eating meat.
That's one.
And I'd say by supporting other industries and,
Good.
you know, supporting alternatives and
continue to think it through. See, this is the answer to what you want. But you can't change us.
right.
But you can think in areas that are so available to your open mind if you're not busy dreaming. And you can continue to dream, just know the difference between what's real and what's dreamed. Those are not real cows and pigs and chickens.
Right.
That's your factory.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else did you write on number 2?
I wrote, I want the meat industry to be revealed as an industry as shameful as we now look back at the slave industry.
Okay. So is that true, that you want them to do that?
I think it would help, yes.
Okay, so
I'm
that's,
pretty convinced.
that's not good enough for
No,
you.
okay.
I think it would help, yes. No, not good enough for you. Think of the people who, you have to think it through, to the people that work there, the people whose families depend on it, consider it all. Not to change your mind, but just to educate yourself. We can't just look at something on a screen and just be miserable. We're more intelligent than that when we're not living in fear. We're more powerful than, you are more powerful than you could possibly imagine. You can't imagine your brilliance, you can't. Because it's cluttered with fake news. Past, future, fake news. So I want the meat industry to be revealed as?
An industry as shameful as we now look back at the slave industry. Like this has become such a conviction. Maybe it's stressful, probably it is, that I feel that it's just this chapter that we're gonna be so ashamed about.
Yeah.
And I sort of can't wait
Yeah.
for that consciousness to...
So that is where we're at.
Right.
So let's work with your consciousness. Because if you can't do it, how can you expect us to? And
That's
you
a good
can.
point.
So who would you be without putting all of that on us and the meat industry? Who would you be without this thought?
I would be fine.
So now let's turn it around. I want me.
I want me to be revealed as an industry as shameful as we now look back at the slave industry. I can go there.
Yeah.
I can go there.
Okay. And you keep producing this stuff and believing it. Now, this stuff in your head, this past future, it is produced. You don't produce it, it is produced. And you can't stop it. But you can know the difference between what's real and what's not. You can be awake to the dream, awake to what's real and to reality and what is fake. And once you're awake to it, the ego will leave it alone and try another trick. But if this is your practice, it all becomes just, I'm awake to the dream. And in that, you're fearless and you're clear, and nothing can stop you from making change. Because you're in touch with wisdom. Without all this fake news,
Right.
wisdom.
Yeah, I get it.
And there's no ego in that. I love you get that. So I want me to be revealed as that industry
Right.
in my head. As shameful as when I look back at it, I'm a slave to that industry. And that's how you've been, a slave to this. Like you watched the video once, and then you did this. Now on the screen, were those real animals, or was that a movie?
It was a movie.
So you've never been to the slaughter. Have you been
I
to the
haven't.
slaughter? You've never been.
I've never seen an animal killed, I think.
So
It's...
when you get clear, take a trip. See what you're up against. Head on, if you want to change it. Talk to the people there. Do your research. Because you just can't come in with, this is unfair.
Well, you know, that's really true. And I actually, because of the work, I did something similar earlier this year. There's a big sort of a natural park in Holland, and it is designed for animals to be wild, which is really unusual because nothing is wild in Holland. So basically, they put a big fence around an area, and they've just put in animals and sort of let them go free and wild and not take care of them. And there's a lot of first of all, everybody was happy about it, and we made a movie about it, and we felt proud that we had something wild in Holland, and it was magical. And then there was this political party, which really gets on my nerves, that decided that we should make it more, that literally that animals are there, nature is there for people, so it should be open for people, and there should be paths for cycling and walking, and oh right, and half of the deer and the horses should be shot. And this was on the news, and I got this, you know, the same, like, crazy thing. And luckily, thanks to you, I had sort of the moment of clarity to do a worksheet on it. Yeah. And I had all these thoughts about this area, and I'd never been there. I'd never been there. I knew all the answers, and you know, everything. And then I was like, well, I kind of never been there. So I went there. And it was kind of weird. Like, all the animals were starving, and it was kind of weird. But it was so hard for me, Katie, to sort of open to the idea that this crazy political party might be like a little bit right. Or at least I wasn't as sure anymore. It was really sort of, it was really a...
And it opened your eyes.
It did.
So we rally
But
and we fight
it
and
was...
we rally and we don't even know what we're talking
Right,
about.
I know.
And we really believe
I know.
we do. How are we so sure we know what's true? Past, future, past, future, past, future.
But
so stabilize it just like you did there in reality. Okay, so let's just try this one on, okay? I don't want the meat industry to
be revealed as a shameful industry.
As we now look back at the slave industry. Or I don't want the meat industry to be revealed as an industry as shameful. That's...
Well, I know one. And that is as long, but that feels really like, ugh.
Okay, so look at this. I want you to wake up to how shameful you are.
Right.
Because that really is the way to wake up. Just shame yourselves awake. And then take on the meat industry. Go shame them. And see how far you get. I think it'll be fairly equal. So I want the meat industry to be revealed as an industry, as a shameful industry. Is it true? Is that the way?
No, that's not the way.
And now notice how you've lived your life believing the thought that
it's wrong and everybody's wrong.
and that's pretty lonely.
Right.
And that's
And it's pretty old.
And it's hopeless. It's hopeless.
Right.
It leaves you in a terrible, sick world. With no choices, no way out.
Right. It's just not productive.
So who would you be right here, right now, without the thought, I want the meat industry to be ashamed of themselves? Or to be seen as shameful?
My first thought is I'd be fine, but there's this very old conditioning, and this goes back as long as I can remember. And I know this is irrational, but it's like if I relax, then it's okay for for all of that to happen. Like if I relax, I condone. And I know that's,
That you'll move into just a lull of acceptance.
Right.
And,
loving, everybody love
yeah,
what is.
and then you'll be like the rest of us. Shameful.
Yeah.
So I want the meat industry to be revealed as something to be ashamed of. Try I don't want.
I don't want the meat industry to be revealed as something we should be ashamed of.
Okay, now why is that wiser? If you're going to make change, if you're really going to make change, that is, if you really care about this issue,
Right.
why is this a better strategy a better strategy to start with?
It's like you can threaten or anger yourself out of something for a little while, but I feel that like real change comes from
Power.
right.
Clarity is
Right,
power.
right.
Wisdom is power.
Right.
Also, if you approach them wisely, whether it's editorially or one-on-one occasions, when you approach them, if there is a hint of shame, if you put a hint of shame on them, you've lost it.
Yeah. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
and it also doesn't, it doesn't feel true anymore, but it's just
Those
just this,
thoughts.
it's really a stronghold of my identity.
Yeah. So I would like that we make a date for tomorrow morning to meet here and continue this. Is that good with you?
That would be wonderful. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah, I love that dream.
Me too.
Me too.
I'm
Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the meat industry. So to finish off the wants, there's one more turnaround. Try, I want, even though we did it, I want my thinking to be revealed as an industry. It's like, this is your life. As an industry, as shameful as I now look back at the slave that I've been to that industry.
That fits.
Yeah, okay.
That fits.
So let's look at the next one. It's so much fun sitting with you. I love your socks.
Thank you. Me too.
And your hair. I just love your jeans. And your teeth are just brilliant. Huh.
How to go on now? Thank you. So this is 3. The meat industry should wake up to the fact that animals are sentient too. The meat in
Are sentient.
too. Sentient too as well. Like animals are sentient too, like humans, beings.
Oh, sentient beings.
Right.
Oh, okay. So animals are sentient beings. Is it true? What's a sentient being? What is sentient? What is sentient to you?
That's capable of, I'd almost say, having an inner world.
Well, let's go with it because that's what you're holding.
Right,
What's important is what you're holding.
right.
And also, it's really good to keep a dictionary handy. And you have one on your iPhones, and to test what you're thinking and believing to see if the word is even correct.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it won't matter because you're coming from the meaning you've put on it, which is valuable, which is what we're dealing with.
So to me, it's also about not being machines,
that they're, yes,
right? Like,
yes,
that's also in it for me.
that they have feelings,
Right.
that they have,
Social lives.
yes. So animals are sentient beings. Is that true? This is a difficult question for an animal lover, but not for someone that really wants to know the truth. To really consider it. Can you absolutely know that it's true that animals are?
No.
What does that feel like?
Humbling.
Yeah, that's, as Leonard Cohen would say, that's, that's a crack. That's a huge crack in everything. And he
Right.
says that's how the light gets in. But that's quite a something to entertain.
Yes.
So how do you react when you think the thought, animals are sentient beings, and you think of the meat industry and how they kill animals, how they slaughter?
I get, I get, I get very, I'd say violent, angry, and also overcome with this sense of being powerless, being unable to do, like the magnitude of it. It's just, but mostly anger.
And we give up on the human race.
Right, and it's kind of ridiculous in a way, but it's true that, for example, now in summer and everybody's barbecuing, like I have really a hard time. That has such an image of like fun and carefree, and I smell, like I smell dead bodies being roasted.
Yeah.
So that's
And
not
it's not just the dead bodies being roasted, it is the slaughter.
right. It's all the
And how
hurt, right? So that's not. I mean, that's unsustainable.
Yes.
That's kind of crazy in a way.
Yeah.
I see that that's crazy, but it's there.
It's not so crazy. How many of you experienced this at one time or another? See, that's not crazy. That's,
Wow.
no one wants to even think about how horrible that is. No one. There are no lines standing up to take a cruise through the slaughterhouse. We don't even want to think about it. And when we're barbecuing, we don't.
Right.
We can't. We don't.
But it really undermines my connection with, I mean, my neighbors. If they're barbecuing, I make them into these, you know, unreal.
You make them into less sensitive than you are.
Yes.
You're up here, they're down there, you are
Yeah.
conscious, they're unconscious.
Yeah.
They're laughing and you're suffering.
Yeah. Closing the windows.
Closing the
Yeah.
windows.
It's,
So now, who would you be without the thought animals are sentient beings too? Now, I'm going to invite you to the work, the same work that I did. Okay? So close your eyes. Now, you see the YouTube thing where the animals were being slaughtered that you saw on your, you see that?
mm-hmm.
Okay, so who would you be without the thought animals are sentient beings? Now be one of those animals going through slaughter as you see it all the way. And I invite you all to meditate into whatever horror you perceived that to be as one of those sentient beings. And continue to do it. Continue to be there as that animal until you're okay with it. Exactly what you saw as one of those until not only are you okay with it, you are a sentient being there for others. For the human race. For all that's beautiful.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because it feels like I have this sense of this is only happening to me. It's a lot of confusion and not knowing what's happening. But I have no story about it. So and I can imagine how that would, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine how that must be because I'm such a human. But if
maybe it's, as a human, you seem to be doing really well with going into that slaughter and being slaughtered.
And it felt like it just it really contrasts with having, you know, that whole burden of like all my fellow pigs. Why is this happening to us? Like not. But I'm just imagining pigs not having that capability, but I'm actually not sure about that.
No, just go in with your own consciousness.
Well, and also the experience is so intense that I don't have a lot of time to think about anything. So it's just, you know, an overwhelming thing that's happening to me.
There is nothing that is not here to serve. So go back and continue to be that service, sentient being.
I get this sense of, again, it's just such an overwhelming experience to be there, that there's just not a lot of room for anything else. And also there's really no other option other than to go through it. Which is sort of weirdly reassuring.
Okay?
I'm okay.
Yeah. The meat industry should wake up to the fact that the animals are sentient beings too. Turned around,
I should wake up to the fact that human beings are sentient too.
that I am.
That
I should wake up to the fact that
I am sentient too.
that I, as an animal, am a sentient being too.
That's a good one.
It's an excellent one. If you wanted to teach the human race the horrors of being asleep, would you be that service?
Yes.
They're certainly waking you up. And a lot of hands in this room went up. If you knew who and what you really were, if the human race needed to be shown, you wouldn't hesitate to rip off your own arm and give it to them. Sentient being. One is awake, one is asleep. To assume animals are asleep, or to assume anyone in the world is asleep other than you, is arrogant. When we look out and judge people, companies, animals as anything, until we understand them, we cannot understand ourselves, sentient beings. And there's no rest until that's realized. Little rest. But the ego never sleeps, you know. Okay, precious, let's look at 4.
I need the meat industry to start to listen to scientific research that shows that eating animals is no longer necessary nor moral. I have more, but the meat industry should make a shift.
So let's wait
Well,
for. So you
It's
need. Yeah, read it again and we'll
Right.
get it all down.
I
I
need
need
the-
the meat industry
The
to.
meat industry to start to listen to scientific research that
So let's slow it down. Scientific research.
that shows that eating animals is no longer necessary nor moral. Because there are so many other sources of protein. And also in the scientific research is all this stuff about animals being a lot like us, actually, in their behavior and in their emotional lives and
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
But we're assuming they're unenlightened.
I'm sorry,
We're assuming they're unenlightened.
right.
So it's putting your own identity onto sentient beings.
Mm.
You're at war with sentient beings. Sentient beings for all you know, but the only way I know to understand is to be the slaughtered, or to meditate on that moment in time of the slaughter until I understand.
I was in a public discussion recently with hunters, room full of hunters, and at the end they were all very nice people, which was really confusing. And one of them actually invited me to go hunting with him. And I told him that, I mean, that doesn't seem like a fun day out to me at all. And I told him that if there wasn't any bigger purpose other than, you know, like making a documentary out of it, or, you know, some kind of way we could broadcast that situation, I wouldn't do it, because I didn't see any reason for that. And that makes me, what you just said makes me think of that. And also what you said yesterday about actually going to the slaughterhouse. And even though, you know, that's sort of the last thing I want to do, I do see how that would be, you know, sensible and fair.
At worst, it would give you another worksheet. At best, it would give you another worksheet. You need to be happy. You need the meat industry to start to listen to scientific research that shows that eating animals is no longer necessary nor moral. So for that reason, you need the meat industry to listen to scientific research.
For me to be happy.
For you to be happy.
No.
That's a
It's easier.
no is a big answer. So you need the meat industry to listen to scientific research. That's specific research. How do you react? What happens when you believe the thought?
I feel, I feel...
Before you can feel, you have to see images of past, future. So notice how the mind reacts when you think the thought. Meat industry need to listen to scientific research.
It's like I wanna slap, you know, I wanna slap all the meat industry, and to me, like, consumers are part of that. I would just wanna like slap them in the face with all these.
So you see an image of them in your head, of the future, and you
Yes.
see you just slapping them, convincing them,
Right.
okay?
Yes, this sense of, like, right.
That
Just-
righteous I know mind to these very dense people. And then you see images of the past of all those animals being slaughtered. So you have that, and then you have this, and you're justified over
Yes.
here,
Very
being-
much.
looking down on them in a shaming kind of way. Okay? So you see those images, and then you feel. You understand that past, future is always going. You can't believe what you think otherwise. You see images, past, future. You believe your thoughts onto them, the words onto them. And you see that in your mind's eye. And then, while you're entertaining that movie, that is the cause of your emotions. So then you feel.
I mean, just aggression.
Yeah, you become aggressive.
Yes. And it's this aggression that I feel, I mean, it's not only in this area, but like this aggression, this aggressiveness I get when I feel that people are ignoring facts. Like that is just sort of this whole pedestal of righteousness. Like, it's not just that I feel that way, but it's like, you know? So that really emblazes this.
So you become a radical.
I feel radically right. Yes,
A radical.
right.
All radicals feel right.
Good point.
Yeah. But you can be right and wise or right and radical. One we can hear and learn from, the other we shut down. We lock up. And that's perfect. Those of us that are radical like that, when they lock us up, it gives us time to consider. Or we become more radical and
Right.
more bitter. So I love that we can do this from here. The life of a radical it's painful. It's lonely.
Right.
It's hurtful to your life and welfare.
Definitely.
You're in a slaughterhouse.
Right. And I honestly don't like that. I don't like that part of me. I mean, it's not.
But you're lost. You don't know what else to do. Anything less than that feels like you're just succumbing like the rest of them. which is something maybe you've sworn you would never let happen to you. I need the meat industry to start to listen to scientific research that shows that eating animals is no longer necessary nor moral. Turn around. I need
me to start to listen to
scientific research
that shows that
eating
animals is necessary and moral.
To some of us.
Yeah,
To some of us.
I know them. I have.
But if you're asleep, you can in some areas, you can understand why we're asleep in some areas.
But I also know people who really, I mean, like me, really, really hold that as a, that's really part of the belief system that I can kind of understand why they
eat meat.
I don't agree with it, but I understand. I mean, it's a conscious thing for them. It's sort of
Eat meat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's a lot of scientific research that would back it up, but
Go to the internet. Just search what's the word? Advantages of eating meat.
right.
And then look at all the scientific studies. It's all there. It's nothing that maybe you would believe, and a lot to contemplate, but
Right.
so I need me
Right.
to start to listen to scientific research on the internet that shows that eating animals is necessary
And moral.
and moral. So start doing your research.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you visit a slaughterhouse, they're going to give you all that research if you're not so radical that you're really listening. And I see you as so you're going to be on the same page. You're going to have an understanding there that will, you understand? I don't want to be at war with what people say. I want to be awake to what they're thinking and believing and why. Because in a conversation like that, when I'm holding my own values, there's power.
It's true.
Okay?
Yes.
That way, I don't shame myself, I don't shame them, I don't shame animals.
Yeah.
Research, research, research. In other words, education, education. If you're going to take this on, be as wise about the advantages of meat as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're cheating yourself and you're cheating animals,
Yeah.
if this is your cause. So I have one. Would you like to hear it?
Very much.
I don't need the meat industry to start listening to scientific research that shows that not eating animals that eating animals is no longer necessary or moral. Because they're going to have you. educated you. And that doesn't mean they're going to stop. But that's our best. And when we are at our best, there's satisfaction because we know that's it, but it doesn't stop us. We continue to get still and to tap into that wisdom that goes beyond anger and righteous justification. You need them to make a shift, turn it around.
I need to make a shift. Yeah.
Yes, from seeing them not as an enemy, but as someone
Worthy of
someone
right, as someone.
that doesn't need to make a shift. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's nothing more powerful than wisdom. Let's look at the next one.
The meat industry is cruel, unethical, unrealistic, unsustainable, a waking nightmare, a collective cultural shadow.
So would you read it again? The meat industry is cruel,
Unethical, unrealistic, unsustainable.
so you have your answer in unsustainable. It will come to an end.
Mm.
Done.
I'm just imagining the state of the world when that happens, but
Well, you want it stopped.
right. Yeah,
It's unsustainable.
yeah. And I do not only believe, but also when I look back historically to things, I do feel confident that it's moving in the right direction, meaning my direction in this case, which is always the right direction, obviously, but it's, yeah.
So when it comes to the meat industry, my thoughts about the meat industry are
My thoughts about the meat industry are cruel, unethical, unrealistic, unsustainable, a waking nightmare, and a collective cultural shadow. Definitely.
so it's as though you're one of those animals on the conveyor belt, just let's look at the next one. So let's look at the next one.
I don't ever want to see animals being tortured, separated, transported in unacceptable ways, murdered for our ignorant few moments of sensatory pleasure.
Okay, so I don't ever want to see animals separated.
Mm-hmm.
What does that have to do with that part of your mind? What do you think? What do you see in your mind's eye when you think, I don't want animals to be separated?
So I see, for example, baby cows being immediately separated from their mothers for the milk and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and just all these ways that their social structures are being ignored and broken, and
Yeah.
so that's what I see with separated. That's
Yeah.
what I meant.
And do you feel empathy for the calf? Is that any part of it?
Yeah, it just feels very, again, unethical to me to separate like a mother from
But
their
beyond
baby.
ethics, do you feel a kind of grief
Yeah.
for the good? So again, when you're doing a worksheet like this, you do
The calf.
the calf. You become the calf. And you meditate as the calf, watching the mother being separated. And then what you're thinking and believing about how you need your mother, that's a worksheet. And it's not done until you're comfortable in that, in being separated. And then you may better understand the mind of an enlightened animal, because you become one. Okay. So I'm willing
to see animals being tortured, separated, transported in unacceptable ways, and murdered for our ignorant few moments of sensatory pleasure.
I look forward
to animals being tortured, separated, transported in unacceptable ways, and murdered for our ignorant few moments of sensory pleasure.
if you really sit in this work and you go to a slaughterhouse and you're educated and as up to date as you can possibly be with how they see it and how they condone it, there can be one powerful little, you're what we've got. You're what we've got. And thank you for your passion and your enlightenment.
Thank you.
So let's get some feedback.
I felt everything the same and could as well have been my worksheet. And I've done the work on it many, many times. But it doesn't stick because I'm so afraid that if I really see it as the illusion, that I'm abandoning the animals, that I'm just as guilty.
Do you see her abandoning the cause?
No.
I don't either.
And then when you said, like the meditation, become the animal, I envisioned being an animal being skinned alive, as I've seen in videos. And it took a while, but then I could feel the inside of the animal. It was so peaceful and such a big love. And first, it felt such a contrast to the horrible person I've been for the past 20 years. Because I feel like I have to shame people, I have to judge them, otherwise I'd be abandoning them. So that felt like such a contrast. And when I let that love sink in
So
more...
let's slow down for the...
Sorry, yes. And as I felt like being that animal, as I let that love sink in, it was as if it was saying to me, it's okay to let it go. Like, as if I was granted permission to let go of this burden, that I have to make people more aware, that I have to judge them, that I have to do that. It felt like I was being given the permission and the reassurance that it was okay. And I can still feel that those underlying beliefs, like if I accept this, then I'm doing the same. I feel they're still present, but I now have this exercise to go back to.
Yes, you do.
And I'm also from Holland, and maybe we can go together to the slaughterhouse. Yay! I think I never thought I would have said that. So thank you so much. Thank you.
You know, self-realization, in my experience, has no value until it's lived. And so it's a privilege to witness both of you. Thank you. Because we wake up enlightenment is completely user-friendly. We don't become complacent in it, as you speak so clearly to. The freer we get, it's like our values don't shift. Our values don't shift. It's just that we're no longer at war with anyone or anything because we understand. And we understand because we're more radical, for all we know, and hateful and shaming than they are. I don't know, but that much of it in me is too much, because I have work to do, and that's going to stop me. It's going to slow me down. It's unnecessary to the enlightened mind. Yes.
I have a dog which I like very much, and she's very old, and the veterinarian doctor said she should get meat from the slaughterhouse. And the slaughterhouse in my city, for me, is like an area of concentration camp. And I went there by car, singing mantras, crying. And in the radio, there was also Bruckner music. And I came there, and they prepare for dogs or for animals the rest of the bones and these little pieces, and you can get them very cheap. And now I went inside, and there are lots of refugees, like Africans, people who have not much money, and they go to this place to buy meat. Every second sentence was from Muslimic persons, no pork, no pork. The slaughter person at the Kasse, he was very proud. For me, it was like they are celebrating Christmas. There was a feeling in the air of celebration. And I noticed, and it made me humble. And I went back in my car with the meat for my dog. And I go there more often times now to get this. And again, I see there's celebration, and there's also happiness. I don't eat meat. I don't want to eat meat. But for the animals who died, this party afterwards, this celebration, this, I can't express how proud the people are and how happy they are to get the meat. The Africans counting their money. Oh, I get this amount of meat there. Very proud. It's very impressive.
Education. Education. Yes.
German or Deutsch. Vielen Dank für dein Arbeitsblatt. Ich hätte das, glaube ich, sehr ähnlich schreiben können.
Many thanks for your worksheet. I think I could have written that very similarly.
Und möglicherweise bin ich noch verrückter als du, weil ich esse Fleisch.
And maybe I'm even more crazy than you because I do eat meat.
Und neulich in einer Arbeitssituation habe ich festgestellt, dass einer meiner Kunden auch Jäger ist.
And recently in my work situation, I noticed that one of my customers is a hunter.
Und anders als ich sonst immer reagiert habe, habe ich ihn sehr neugierig gefragt, wie ist das eigentlich, jagen zu gehen?
And recently I asked him quite inquiringly, what is it like to be a hunter and to go hunting?
Und ich habe da einfach nur gesessen und zugehört.
And I just sat and listened.
Und ich muss sagen, ich war sehr beeindruckt von einerseits der Selbstverständlichkeit
I was very impressed by the normality and it's okay
und
attitude.
aber auch von dem großen, großen Respekt, den er dem Tier, was er jagt, entgegenbringt.
And also by the very, very big respect that he has for the animal.
Und jetzt ist meine Idee, ich glaube, ich rufe den mal an und gehe mal mit.
And now I think I'm going to call him and go with him on a hunt, maybe.
Vielen Dank.
Many, many thanks.
Yes.
Depuis plusieurs années, je ne mange pas de viande et je suis allergique
I haven't been eating meat for many years and I'm allergic.
à tout ce qui peut se passer dans des abattoirs.
Allergic to anything that may happen in slaughterhouses.
Et pendant des années, j'ai cherché à convaincre en faisant la guerre.
And for many years I tried to convince people by doing war,
Sans savoir que je faisais la guerre.
without knowing that I was at war.
Je les faisais culpabiliser, je prenais des façons détournées de... Et il n'y a pas très longtemps,
I tried to make them feel guilty. I was manipulative about it.
il n'y a pas très longtemps, dans ma famille, j'ai été invitée à manger par une de mes tantes.
And not so long ago, I was invited by one of my aunts for a meal.
Je suis née dans une ferme, donc dans ma famille, on tue, on nourrit, on élève et on tue. Donc,
So I went into a farm. In my family, we kill.
et elle avait fait un gigot d'agneau qu'elle avait fait cuire. J'ai pas pu en manger.
So she cooked
Elle m'a
some lamb, a leg of lamb,
Elle
and
m'a
I wasn't
pour-
able to eat any of it.
elle m'a pourri parce que j'en mangeais pas,
She gave
Parce-
me a hard time because I didn't eat any of it,
parce que je voulais pas non plus mettre simplement du jus de viande sur les pommes de terre. Enfin bref.
and because I didn't want to put gravy on my potatoes.
Et le ton a monté, et je suis rentrée chez moi. On s'est engueulé en gros. Je
So
suis rentrée,
we had an argument. I went home.
j'ai fait une feuille de travail et j'ai
I wrote a Judge a Neighbor worksheet.
que depuis des années, je faisais la même guerre, mais à l'envers. Je
And I
cherchais,
saw that for many years I was waging the exact same war, but in the other position.
et j'ai décidé il y a peu de temps je peux pas aller dans les abattoirs, je pourrais pas, c'est ma
And-
limite. Par
I
contre,
can't go into a slaughterhouse. That I'm not able to. That's where it stops.
je reçois souvent du monde à la maison et maintenant je fais des plats avec amour.
I often have visitors
Sans-
in my house, and now I'm able to cook dishes with love,
Sans,
without
sans chercher à... Je mets pas de viande, mais je cherche pas à démontrer, à vouloir, je cherche rien.
Those dishes are meatless, however, I don't try to demonstrate or teach anything with them.
C'est ma contribution, de donner sans mettre de viande,
This is
sans
how I
rien dire.
contribute.
Et,
I give without putting meat in them.
et montrer à ma famille, mes amis, mes proches qu'on peut très bien manger, protéines animales ou pas, ou
And
nanana
I
ou
show
pas,
my relatives
Sans
and my
mettre-
friends that it's possible to eat without adding animal protein.
voilà, sans mettre obligatoirement des cadavres d'animaux dedans.
Without putting animal corpses in the food.
C'est comme ça que j'ai trouvé la paix en
This
moi.
is how
Voilà.
I found peace within me.
So I did this work that I see as the work you're doing. And as you were talking, it just occurred to me that I don't eat meat, and I've never, to my mind, ever said anything to my children or grandchildren about that. I just don't eat meat. And as you were talking, it occurred to me that of 5 grandchildren, I think this is correct, 4 of them are vegan. And 2 of my children don't eat meat. And I've never said, it just... And I'd love to hear their experience of it, if I have in fact said anything, but it's just not like me. It's enough that I'm aware. And so if I were going to do a cause and start at home, and I've done that, and when I look at you, you've done the same. You know, you're living that out. You start with you don't eat it, and then just, you have no idea how many lives you've touched. Who knows? So, yes.
Deutsch, bitte. Ich esse Fleisch
I eat meat.
und ich esse Gemüse.
I eat vegetables.
Ups. Und ich fühle sehr mit zum Beispiel den Menschen, die verführt werden, gegeneinander zu kämpfen, einander zu hassen.
Could you say that again, please?
Und ich fühle sehr mit Menschen, die dazu verführt werden, andere zu hassen und zu töten.
And I feel with people who are being told to hate each other and fight against each other.
Ich weiß nicht, was ein Blumenkohl fühlt, wenn ich ihn esse.
I don't know what a cauliflower feels when I eat it.
Und ich weiß nicht, was ein Kalb fühlt, wenn es gekillt wird.
Und ich weiß nicht, and I don't know what a little calf feels when it is being killed.
Was ich sehe in meiner Erfahrung ist, dass
What I can see in my experience,
es ist so viel Liebe da, wie eine Frau gesagt hat, als sie in das Tier eingetaucht ist.
there is so much love there, as one of the women said, as she moved into the animal.
Ich denke, dass mit unserem ganz verzwickten Denken wir unmögliches Leid ständig produzieren, also ich auch.
That with our complicated thinking, we produce a lot of sorrow.
Und dass Tiere oder Pflanzen fühlende Wesen sind, ich habe solch einen Respekt, weil ich weiß, dass die viel direkter lieben als ich.
And that animals and plants have feelings, I do know that, and that they more directly experience that and love much better than I do.
Und deshalb weiß ich nicht, soll ich keine Pflanzen mehr essen oder keine Tiere mehr essen? Soll ich mit Leuten nicht verkehren, die im Krieg sind? Ich bin es ja ständig.
So should I not eat plants anymore? Should I not eat animals anymore? Should I not be with people that are at war?
I don't know.
Thank you. Yeah, to assume anything or anyone is less wise or aware as any other human being is definitely something to look at.